Hey, Kip Merker here from Plainsight Technologies. We're here at the Plainsight Filter Lab in beautiful Woodville, Washington, and I'm joined by Larry Carvalho. He's the principal analyst, principal consultant at RobustCloud, your very own company. Yeah. Now, you've been doing this for a long time. You were at IBM,
yes,
doing automotive industry stuff.
Yes.
I met you when you were at IDC.
Yes.
I know you've been covering cloud, DevOps, edge computing,
yes,
AI. It's very exciting to have you here. I'm lucky to have you here while you're in town. So Larry, what are you seeing with AI? What's going on with AI?
I'm seeing enterprises adopt it in a different way. We are looking at technology companies adopting it first. The two examples I hear a lot about is, Oracle embedding AI into Fusion. Amazon.com, not AWS, Amazon.com building AI for their sellers, so their sellers can build better product pages. These are good fits for a large technology enterprise who are used to embedding technology in their products quickly. But for the most part, enterprises are looking at software development. It's an easy fit. How do you use AI to accelerate the application development cycles, make it faster for development? So the developers are moving away from actually software development, but actually using their skills in different ways to speed up the development and deployment of solutions for their customers. There is a shortage of developers always, but if there is any opportunity to get efficiencies there, that's the low-hanging fruit. And then there is still chatbots that I feel is being experimented with at this time, and it'll be a matter of time where that gets bigger adoption.
What strategies can enterprises use as they're thinking about adopting AI and computer vision and these other kinds of technologies? What can they do to bring kind of a broader business objectives into scope for the technology, so it's not just technology for technology's sake?
Yeah, are trying more and more to come in, bring it back either to Mexico or the US. However you bring it to these places, you need significant efficiencies. And that is driving a trend. But within that, companies are looking for two things. One is more data. How do they get their data to train these models? And their own data, not be dependent on somebody else. And other big thing is skills. There is skills required, just like any new technology. There is a shortage of skills. So they have to either build their own skills or depend on an systems integrator to bring in the skills to help them on their AI journey.
So this is big money for system integrators right now.
Absolutely. You see so many thought leadership papers coming from Deloitte and Accenture and others talking about how they can help companies within their AI journey.
So to enable that size, there must be an ISV ecosystem too, developer tools and other things like that. What are you seeing in that in terms of adoption?
And we're seeing that are the marketplaces that are on Google, on Microsoft, with ISVs coming in and helping that accelerate. And then you're seeing an interesting partnership, a partnership within the big hyperscalers, the systems integrators, and the ISVs that are being brought together to help deliver the solutions to the customers.
So Larry, as these organizations are doing this new journey, they're probably spending a lot of money, but the big question I would ask is, well, how do they measure the ROI? They're going after AI and computer vision. What's the return on investment for them, and how are they thinking about that in terms of business impact?
So you go back to this nearshoring and inshoring of manufacturing. How do you get efficiencies there? What will cost you one employee in the US you'll get you 10 to 20 employees in an Asian country.
Yep.
So if you want to bring in that, you need a lot of efficiency. So you have to look at ROI, especially in vision of what it can do to improve that efficiency and the speed and the quality and reliability of all the systems that go into a manufacturing system. Start to finish.
So with the trend being the onshoring, I guess the theory is that you can make up the cost differential in terms of labor using technology as the way to overcome that. That's the theory, but is that the practice as well? Are we seeing that in reality?
You have to have that in reality, because otherwise you're not going to be able to do any inshoring or anything like that. you're seeing different types of technologies with 3D printing and others that are coming up. But without vision, you're not going to be able to execute with that vision of saying, and I say the vision of the manufacturing vision of being able to manufacture at scale and at lower cost.
Yeah.
So you talked about edge also. So the edge contributes to latency, that you need something on the edge to deliver that capability. And what is happening in many companies is they're collecting all that data and sending it to the cloud for analysis. So using that insights, that intelligence, now you keep improving on the product, the delivery of this manufacturing in-house.
So the edge computing plus cloud, having the data that they can use to better run their operations,
Yes.
make better predictions about how things need to work in terms of supply and demand and
Yes.
quality control, et cetera, understanding their inventory, all of that is part of this overall story of the overall story of how we can adopt technology to drive better efficiency and bring back manufacturing jobs to the U.S. Yeah,
Yes.
that makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
So you've been covering things in cloud and DevOps for many years.
Yes.
You know that space super well, and some of the trends that we saw there have now, they've kind of matured, right? The
Yes.
DevOps and cloud market has matured. AI is still emerging. Are you seeing any correlation, or are you getting flashbacks to things you covered before from a DevOps perspective as you think about AI?
Definitely. Big flashbacks. Again, DevOps and other things were first adopted by technology savvy companies or technology companies. The kinds of Capital Ones and others came quickly and used it, but also Microsoft and Amazon and others. That is a similarity. The other thing is both of these being new technologies have a skills shortage in the beginning. So how do you get that skills to build a whole DevOps strategy within your company? And finally, both of them are focused towards automation, both on the developer automation. So how can you reduce the developer needs and the operations needs for both DevOps and get those efficiencies with these technologies? That's where companies are always focused on. How can I build efficiencies?
The developer, as you mentioned, it's a big constraint actually in companies. How quickly can we develop software? And so I think the idea of optimizing, as I believe for a long time, and we've talked about it many times, but the idea of optimizing developers, that they're focused on creating value and they're not blocked and they're not doing, manual repetitive tasks. We call it toil, in the reliability space, but reducing the toil on developers has a direct and immediate impact. And in fact, probably a higher cost saving than trying to optimize some of the manufacturing tasks that you might try to kind of streamline. If you can get the developers, which are much more expensive resources, let's be honest.
Exactly.
You can get them to be efficient, then now you can drive this sort of force multiplier on the operations.
Absolutely, start to finish that. And when you talk about these solutions, they have a long effect for the rest of the skills within the organization. It's not just in the IT side, but what does it affect you? Because everybody is a software company, right?
Right.
So you want to be, competitive. You better have a good, agile IT organization behind you, helping your business agility.
So one concern that I hear a lot about from enterprises, and really from everybody, is privacy. When they think about AI, there's these vast quantities of data that are being used to train AI systems, whether that's sort of the ChatGPTs of the world, or multimodal, or even clicking around on CAPTCHAs to find all the motorcycles, right? But the privacy of data is a concern that people have, especially enterprises that want to gain a competitive edge, as you were kind of mentioning before, where they want to have something unique to their business. What are you seeing with enterprises as it relates to privacy? What are some of the trends that you're encountering in your client base?
Most companies are reluctant to use something like an OpenAI, where they don't know where the data is coming from. So they're trying to build their own data streams, data capabilities, and then train the models. That can help with the privacy, but there are a couple of interesting examples. New York Times sued OpenAI. Air Canada got sued because their automated chatbots were giving wrong information, and they had to pay customers back because of that wrong information they were giving customers to. So there is a financial risk and a legal risk with intellectual property. So folks looking at privacy are also looking at the legal risks and some of them are giving a pause, say, hey, let's skin this cat before we jump in both feet and start doing it, because they don't want their attention to go to now a legal issue when efficiencies is good, but not at the cost of a lawsuit.
You get sued over a hallucination. Sounds terrible.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, so you mentioned that as almost a reaction to the privacy and legal risks and these other issues, that it's leading companies to do it themselves.
Yeah.
So when you think about that, they have to kind of retool, rethink, rehire in order to build a capability around that. That can't be easy. What are you seeing in terms of how they, how it's impacting the journey, let's say, to adopting AI in their organization?
That's a great question, because everybody is looking at AI and there is a resistance to change, because developers don't know what it's going to do to their job. The folks in the call center are worried about what it's going to do to their job. So the biggest thing is to have a good communication strategy for companies to talk to their employees and say, this is our AI strategy. It is going to help us move to the next stage. I heard through sources about Intel just laying off 15,000 people, but their call, they told their employees that, hey, we are going to automation. We have to do this, but it's a good communication strategy. Now everybody is on board. They understand that some jobs are kept, some jobs are cut, but we are all on the steps towards automation, and it's going to be AI driven. Any automation is going to be AI driven, and we are going to get to be a better company overall in that stage.
Comments you're making about, there's an impact on labor and skills and capital and how the market's reacting, and this sort of belief about what the future is going to hold for automation, and yet we're still wrestling with kind of the basic, hallucinations are a legal risk, and what do I do with private data? So it kind of begs the question about where are we in terms of the hype? Are you kind of a AI bear or AI bull? Where do you kind of fall on the spectrum about where you think it's going to shake out?
I am in the middle, I think, but it'll all shake out, I think, is close to the end of the year already. So I think by the end of this year, we're going to see some definite use cases which are good, some use cases which are not so good, and companies are going to start adopting them. I see the value is going to come from enterprises, when I say technology companies, sharing what is the best low-hanging fruit for them to come and deliver value. Andy Jassy talked about saving $260 million. That's a good use case. How can you now make it real for your customers is going to be where this, is the secret sauce. Whether it is Amazon, whether it is Microsoft, whether it's Google, they're all playing in this field. They're all in it to win. And we're going to see how that shakes out based on genuine use cases that drive value at a lower risk. And one last thing that is still being thinking is, how much power do you need for this?
Yeah.
So you're going to see some fight on the silicon level, that companies are going to start fighting to build better silicon and run these models with minimal power consumption. Because sometimes it's not the chip shortage, it's also the power shortage that is going to come in.
Run up against the physics on it at some point.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. So just to close out this conversation, if you think about, put on the hat of an enterprise CTO, CIO, right? Somebody who's really thinking about the long-range strategy for a large enterprise organization. If you have one takeaway for them, the one thing that you think they should focus on to make it a success, what would your advice be?
I would say focus on innovation with Gen AI, but balance it with the risk you're taking. That's basically what you need to do. So keep innovating, keep moving the way in small ways, but also keep an eye on new regulations that are coming up, which geography you are in. I mean, right now, each state has different regulations. It's a mess. That's going to be, again, determined in the future. So you got to say, I have to keep that in mind before I just take large steps. So take baby steps, but, innovate and improve efficiencies by automation.
Baby steps. That's great. I think, just to kind of reflect on your point here with all of the change happening right now for technologists and entrepreneurs, it's a huge opportunity. And being able to provide clarity, honest solutions that work, that provide value, I think that's going to, as my belief anyways, is going to really stand out. And just like we saw with the DevOps and cloud revolution, there was a lot of hype for a lot of different solutions. There were a lot of dead ends. There were a lot of technologies that fell into the unfortunate waste bin of history. But then the really great solutions that were community-driven, transparent, open, and really withstood the test of time, we saw huge success there. So I'm hopeful we're going to see the same thing happen in the AI space.
I am definitely hopeful, and I'd really, coming and looking at your labs and having spoken before with you guys, I think this computer vision is a game changer. And like I focused on manufacturing, but it can be used in any place where there is real stuff happening. Mining, agriculture, all of these places are areas that can use the next level of transformation from using this technology. So I think it's there for you to get.
Well, thank you. Our tagline, we make your cameras count. So there you go. Anyway, Larry, so great to have you.
Great
talking
Thanks for having me.
And everybody out there, stay tuned. See you next time.
Thank you.